All right, let's see. So I think we are live. All right, I think it's working. It's kind of hard to tell. Okay, cool. Thank you, Jamie, for letting me know. Hopefully, it's actually viewable on Instagram because my preview here doesn't look like it's properly connecting, but I think it is. So, with that, I just want to say welcome to everyone who is joining in live, wherever it is that you are joining in live from. Uh, my name is Luis Antonio Pichardo. I'm the founder and executive director of DSTL Arts. And tonight we have our first professional development seminar of the new year. Tonight's session is going to be led by my man Abraham Jaramillo, our master teaching artist. He will be mostly, leading the session. I might chime in here and there, but I'll be definitely watching our comments, whether you are watching on Instagram Live, on YouTube Live, or Twitter and Facebook also. So uh, it's good to have y'all joining in, those who are there. And with that, I'm going to pass the baton off to Abraham. So go ahead and take it away, my man.
Hello, people. Hopefully, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Right. Awesome. So first of all, let's start sharing this screen. Bum, 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 bum. Stuff going on. Okay, my friend. Hopefully, everybody can see. Let me move this thing out of the way. Okay. Oh, this thing gets all over the place. Cool. So first of all, let's say that we are DSTL Arts. DSTL Arts is a nonprofit artist mentorship organization that inspires, teaches, and hires emerging artists from underserved communities. Our programs serve emerging artists of all ages and abilities, centering their existing skills as assets to develop, emphasizing their unique place in our community as potential change makers, and offering opportunities to transcend limitations through accessible platforms, spaces, and programming. Again, DSTLers, it's a means develop skills and transcend limits through the arts. And let's continue with our programs. Just for those who don't know, we have a couple of programs. First, we have Conchas y Café. It's a bilingual community writing workshop that consists of 15 weeks series of bilingual workshops for adults producing Conchas y Café scene by biannual publication. And this is a really cool workshop too. Then we have Art Block Scene, a publication and podcast featuring emerging artists from LA County. Definitely check us out. We have a cool podcast. And also check if you want to submit for this year's publication. Then we have Artistic Scene. It's a publication featuring neurodivergent emerging artists from across the country. That one's pretty cool too. And then we have the program that we are here for today, which is Poet Art Development Program, provides emerging artists 18 plus with professional development and publishing opportunities. Offers short-term teaching artists internships and community-based art workshops through our Creative Impact Program. And just to keep the ball rolling, because I know it's been a while since we've seen each other, this is a review of our last class. It's marketing and self-promotion. Marketing tools like emails, word of mouth, ads, social media. Then we also have self-promotion. It's a crafted story that brings together your personal values and beliefs, your brand's values and goals, a deep understanding of your audience. It's basically how to basically put yourself out there. And we also touch on a couple of social media that we can use towards our advantage, like Twitter, which now is the X. We also have TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and other ones we talked about. Basically, we talk about the demographics, who uses them, what's the age limit, also how much time people use them. And again, that helps us to understand where to put our focus on if we know who are we serving, right? So we so far caught up to what we left last time. And so let's start with today's quote. To say that something is designed means it has intentions that go beyond its function. Otherwise, it's just planning. This quote comes from I.C. Bursell, designer, author, and co-founder of Bursell and Plus Seq, a human-centered design and innovation studio. So, without further ado, what do you guys think about these quotes?
Feel free to can jump on in whenever you have a thought.
Yeah, go for it. And again, I'm going to repeat it one more time. To say that something is designed means it has intentions that go beyond its function. Otherwise, it's just planning. Dr. Rosie?
Um, yeah, it to me it means, there's a purpose to this particular function. Um, and so when there's a purpose, you're going to go beyond. So it's not the planning phase is that it you could never move there's you can plan it, but if you don't go beyond that, then it's just a planning. It stays stagnant.
Hmm.
But when when it has an intention, that means that there's a purpose for it, and you're going to move forward with it.
There
That's
you
my
go.
interpretation.
That's definitely part of it. What do you guys think? Also, Luis, do you want to put your thoughts on these ones? I haven't heard them, but be cool to hear you as well.
Well, I think that it's, the fact that it says that it's intentional, that it's something that is done to really push people to go beyond just the functional. I think that that's a really interesting take on design. You know, the way that I kind of understand graphic design and any kind of design really is that it's meant to solve some sort of problem in a creative way and to be more than just functional, but also aesthetically beautiful. Something should look really good and really catch your attention in order for it to be an effective design while also communicating what it needs to communicate.
Thank you. And we also have Jamie that says, I think the sign is supposed to convey a vision beyond just the pure function. Definitely. Again, I think Luis said like an interesting solution, right? And it's like a car. Yeah, a car can take us to from point A to point B, right? But it's the design that also sells the cars. Like that's what we call cars a name or something, right? It takes us something to a place, but also gives us an experience or a feeling or a style that we like. And that's part of designing. It's not just to create wheels that takes us somewhere. It's something else, right? It gives us the extra. I call it the X factor. Anybody else who wants to give its final thoughts on this one? Okay, we're gonna move on because we're gonna be interactive in a bit. So if you don't say anything still, you're gonna say later.
I think on YouTube live
Uh-huh.
stream, we actually had a comment from
Mhm.
Elena who joined in, and Elena asks the question, what does it have to do with anything in terms of design, right? I think that's a good question to ask about any kind of product or uh, service or anything really. Like, what does it have to do with anything? And I think that's what design thinking tries to answer.
Hmm.
So it's a good transition.
Cool. Well, you mention it, right? So, what is design thinking? Short answer, design thinking is a process for creative problem solving. Again, focus on this word, which is, I think it's something that we have to emphasize all the time. Creative problem solving. Creative is the important part. That's what makes things interesting and memorable, right? Long answer, design thinking is an ideology that asserts a hands-on, user-centric approach to problem solving that can lead to innovation, and innovation can lead to differentiation and competitive advantage. This hands-on, user-centric approach is defined by the design thinking process and is comprised of different phases depending on who you ask. Today, we are using 6 distinct phases that I personally like. And again, this is going to give you an advantage in any field. It's that you are not just the solution, you are not just one of those couches in IKEA. You are something special, right? So always think about how you want to be creative about solving certain problem, right? And so with that, let's look for these phases, or basically steps, if you think about them. The design thinking process, let's go. This is going to have 3 and then another 3, just because the page doesn't fit them all. Then we start with number 1, with empathize. Conducts research and develop knowledge about what your users do, say, think, and feel. Basically, this is telling us that we have to know who is going to be the beneficiary, or are basically the people that we are trying to solve a problem for, right? What is the demographic? Who are we targeting our efforts towards, right? Then define, which is the second step. Combine all your research and observe where your users' problems exist, while pinpointing your users' needs, beginning to highlight opportunities for innovation. So here you're gonna start defining what is this demographic, or the people that you chose to serve, need. Because sometimes we get stuck in, like, especially as artists, we think, oh, this is what I want to put out there, and that's it. Whoever gets it, it's on them. But sometimes we also want to understand who is going to be, either in our case, our readers or our viewers, and then start seeing what are the things that they need, right? And then we have the third phase, which is ideate, which is brainstorm a range of crazy creative ideas that address the unmet users' needs identified in the define phase. Give yourself and your team total freedom. No idea is too far-fetched, and quantity supersedes quality. And this is something we don't hear as much. We say like quality helps a lot. But at this phase, what you want to do is basically try to create as many ideas as possible. And it's better if you do, like, let's just do fast throwing ideas instead of thinking too much of the possibilities and everything else. Here we want to create as many ideas, because this is the phase that we don't have nothing to stop you. This is where you tell, either if it's just yourself, I can go wild and don't worry about anything else. Just write them down, see what you can come out with. And after you do that and have a bunch of cool ideas, again, no idea is bad. Here, everything is great. Then we move to 4, which is prototype. Build real, tactile representations for a subset of your ideas. The goal is of this phase is to understand that components of your idea work and which do not. In this phase, you begin to weigh the impact versus feasibility of your ideas through feedback on your prototypes. For example, you are creating this thing and you want to know what is going to work, right? And the first stage that the first at the stage that we talked about previously, we just went for all the ideas that we can come out. Here we start to take them out. And again, just because an idea sounds crazy doesn't mean we cannot make it work. But some ideas basically are going to be either maybe too big for our budget or our team that we cannot realize them, or sometimes we can find a way to make them work. This doesn't mean to take all the ideas that you cannot work with, but it just means you can start looking into what you can do realistically and unrealistically. But definitely we're trying, right? Then we move to the fifth phase, which is test. Here, return to your users for feedback. Ask yourself, does the solution meets users' needs, and has it improved how they feel, think, or do their task? And I think we work a lot on this when we do the feedback, because it's here where we start seeing what works in basically our poetry or writing, and we start seeing what the reader is getting, and then we can modify, right? Then we can create something else. And this phase also, you can, for example, if you have a small group, you can just expand it a little more, so you don't spend too much money or resources and to create the final test, the final implementation, which is going to be the next phase. Here you can make a smaller group, so you can not waste as much resources or money or time to create something that might be changed later, right? You still have a lot of flexibility because you're not putting all your resources there. Then we move to the implement phase. And again, here, put the vision into effect. Ensure that your solution is materialized and touch the lives of your end users. Here, you can definitely put more of your resources. You definitely created something that's going to be more permanent. But remember, phase 6 implement doesn't mean it's set on stone. Doesn't mean you cannot change it. Again, you may want to do the test all the time, like try to see what you can change, if you can continue improving whatever you have, right? So again, always try to leave some room for improvement, but definitely those two phases should be working together, right? And so, any questions so far? Okay.
Does anybody feel overwhelmed?
Yeah.
I think it's a good thing to understand that design thinking, when it was first introduced, kind of was more for people working in like software. So it was about, creating different versions of a software interface so that way a user could interact with it in a way that they were, hopefully missing from something else. So that's sort of where the concept came from. But that doesn't mean that this concept can't be used in other ways. As Abraham said, this is something that is it's a multi-step process that gets you to a point where you're fulfilling a need that is, missing within human, other human constructs, right? And if you think about this in the way that you think about your services and your artwork and your book that you're going to be producing, this is where perhaps design thinking can help you in terms of, prototyping and coming up with, ideas for ways in which you can connect with your audience.
Okay, let's move on, people. Let's move on. So, since we're here, let's play a game. Let me stop sharing these because we're gonna switch to a different thing. And let's begin. Hold on. Pum, 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 pum. Here we are. This is the world's greatest branding game. And the rules are easy. Basically, we're gonna ask a couple of questions and you're gonna have the answers. Then I'm gonna give you the answer. It doesn't matter, some of them might be different answers, but just we're gonna keep it on whatever I have written here. but definitely keep your score and we'll see who ends up winning this game, okay? So let's begin. Again, you keep your own score. At the end, we'll see who has the most. You can put it in the chat how many points you end up accumulating. And let's begin. First question is, looking at these three colors, what brand uses them? I'm gonna give you, I don't know, 1 minute, Luis. Less 30 seconds.
Let's do a minute.
Okay. Don't write the answers in the chat. Just remember to keep your own scores. No, that's all right. It's perfect. It's perfect, guys. Don't worry. And so you're helping the rest of the people. So that's up to you. Or confusing the rest of the people. I don't know. So again, you keep your scores, and at the end, we'll definitely say who has the most points. The answer for this is yes, people. You guys are starting this race really good. Really good. Ba-da-ba-ba-da. We're not getting paid by McDonald's.
No sponsors. But for anybody who did not guess McDonald's, I am curious to know what other fast food restaurant did you guess?
It doesn't have to be fast food too.
True.
Yeah. But again, it goes with like what is the most popular thing that you can think with those things, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what branding is, right? Like you end up with such a strong product that's being portrayed by just three colors, right? And everybody's here is getting there.
Yeah. Oh, Jamie couldn't think of any.
Yeah. But I mean, she got the right answer.
Yeah. Well, yeah, McDonald's.
Yes. And let's move on. Looking at these two colors, we're putting less colors now that I notice. What brand uses them? Let's do this. Again, mental notes. And then once I give the answer, start putting a score on your board if you made it. Again, I trust you guys. I don't think there's cheaters here.
Tick tock, tick tock, tick.
Tick tock, tick tock. Oh my gosh. What did you just say?
I like how much they added something in the chat, but it's like, you know, something.
McDonald's again. Wow.
Yeah, I got the typo. It's okay, Moshe.
And so in 3 seconds, I'll give you the answer. Here is the answer. Yes, sir. We have Starbucks. Yeah, it's really popular. These colors are probably a trademark. And I didn't think all the coffee places can use them. And I don't know. Wingstop, I think I'm hungry. Hey, I don't know. You could be right. Yes. Okay. So keep your score and we'll move on to the next question. What brand uses this slogan? And again, a slogan is basically a small phrase or word that distinguishes certain brands, right? And this is just do it. What brand uses this slogan? Just do it. And again, don't type on this chat, please. Just keep your own answers to yourself, and then we'll get the points at the end. You just have to check yourself. Okay, again, last time I'll ask it. What brand uses this slogan? Just do it. And here is the answer. Just people, just do it. Yeah. Oh, there you go. Okay. And next question. Hopefully you're keeping your score. What brand uses this slogan? Can you hear me now? What brand uses this slogan? Can you hear me now? I'm gonna give you a couple more seconds.
By the way, if you don't get this one, that's okay. Don't feel bad.
Yeah, you don't feel you. If you get it, you might gonna feel a little older, but that's all right. Okay, and so giving you the answer. The answer of this one is Verizon. And definitely we can hear you now. I mean, come on, people. And let's bring it on. Next question. What brand uses this font? Font is a type of writing, the type of letters that are being used, especially to create certain slogan or brand name, right? What brand uses this font? The one you see on the screen. And I'm gonna give you a couple more seconds to think about it. And now, 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi. Yeah, right? And let's bring the answer. Here is the answer for this. Your favorite, unfavorite person. Well, Tesla company. I actually like the scientist, so. Okay. Let's move on to the next question. What lucky company uses this font? Okay, one more time. What lucky company uses this font? Okay. I'm gonna give you how many Mississippis? I'm gonna give you 7 Mississippis. Why not? 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi, 5 Mississippi, 6 Mississippi, 7 Mississippi. The lucky company that uses these popular fonts is Coca-Cola. Yes, sir. Whoever gets those points gets, I don't know, an empty can. It's our budget, right? Okay, that's a really cool fridge. Ah, I want one of those. Okay, next question. What company uses this Sonic brand? Sonic brand is a sound that basically gives us a memory, a feeling about a company. So, without further ado, let me play this for you guys. Hopefully they choose the right one. Oh, sorry. I'm gonna play it 3 times so you can hear it. And it's the second time.
I think you need to be closer to your microphone.
Okay, a little closer. I'm gonna, well, 4 times. And this is the last time. So hopefully you guys can hear. Pointing it right to the microphone. Here it goes. That's a good take. Okay, I'm gonna give you 4 Mississippis to think what it is.
Yeah,
And
I
now,
couldn't. I'm with Roots. I couldn't really hear it.
oh my, dang it. Okay, let's try one more time. Okay, there you go. It's a tricky one, so we'll see.
I suspect your microphone is not allowing it to get picked up completely.
Yeah, I think so. It's maybe getting some of that. But I guess I'm gonna give you I don't know. I cannot give you hints. So whoever, I mean, if nobody gets it, everybody's on the same page anyways. Here is the answer. HBO. And we have one more. Let's see if this one is definitely going to be more hearable. What company uses the Sonic brand? So let me go for this one. Here it goes. Listen to it. This is one time. I'm going to play it 3 times. And here's the last time.
I definitely can't hear that one, man.
You can't?
No, I don't
What?
know. Earlier when we were testing this, it worked.
Yeah. Okay, here you go. Can you hear now? Can you hear now?
No, para nada.
What?
Oh,
There you go.
wait. Do it
You
again?
got it?
We can't hear it right now.
You can't? How does that work? Oh, you know what's probably doing? Maybe it's trying to get through my microphone for my earphones. Here you go. Does it work?
No.
Nope.
No, I think your settings on Zoom might be filtering it out.
I don't know. Well, maybe, yeah. Well, if you didn't hear it, anybody else didn't hear it. So that's the last one of that type of question. The answer is T-Mobile.
It was
So I guess, Luis, can you give us another example of basically a sound from a company?
well, probably the most famous one, at least in the current modern times, would be something like the da-dun.
There you go. Netflix. All right.
Yeah.
Excellent. Doo-doo-doom.
Mhm.
And that is what we're talking about. Okay. And now let's move on to the next question. What brand is this shape from? Again, what brand is this shape from? I'll give you 3 seconds. And again, I'll give you the answer. And a 1, and a 2, and a 3. So the answer, I hope it's obvious for everybody. I don't know actually anymore. Maybe it's not any longer. There you go. And we have it here. It's Twitter, right? Tweet,
Mhm.
tweet. There you go. Which we go in for the next one. What brand is this shape from? What brand is this shape from? Again, give you 4 seconds for this. 1, 2, 3, 4. And the answer for this is bum, 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 bum. And again, don't put it on the chat, please. Here you go. The Olympics. And again, this is a proof of a design that is so memorable that you can change it. See, each Olympic game, they change basically a little bit of the style, right? And still we're able to get the same concept of what the Olympics are, right? Just by those simple shapes. And let's move on to the next, and I think final question. So you feel like you're lagging on points? This should be your final chance to get there. What brand is this shape from? Same. What brand is this shape from? And I'll give you 5 seconds. I think that's fair enough. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the answer is Audi. Again, you see, it still circles, but it's not the same as the previous one. So again, just because something looks a little bit similar, it doesn't mean it's exactly the same. And again, you can scroll the Olympics can so Audi or vice versa. Nah. And so hopefully everybody has count their points. You can put them in the chat and we'll see who has the most points. Let me close this. Okay. We have 5 points from Jamie. We have 6 points from Roots. Dorothea has also 6 points. We are tied. Ooh, let's see. Yeah, fonts. So don't worry, we're gonna cover fonts right now. Don't worry. Don't you worry. We got your back. Okay.
In all fairness,
Nikolai, how many points?
In all fairness, when it came to the fonts, by the way, Abraham did try to throw you off a little bit. So for
Yeah, all
anybody
the
who
time.
didn't get the answer,
I'm a trickster.
Tesla, is that your price point? Touche.
Okay. I guess we have a tie because the rest didn't put their points. So I'm gonna say we have a tie. It's Dorothea and Roots. So you guys gonna divide the prize, which is me clapping for you guys. Congratulations, you guys are sharp. You are the sharpest of them all. Okay, let's continue with this. Bum, 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 bum. Where I am, let's see, share.
For those of you who joined in, by the way, on our Instagram, any other platform, Abraham was just playing a very quick game on fonts, branding, and the like. So, you can watch this later if you choose on our YouTube channel. So feel free to subscribe for that.
Yeah, don't forget to like us, subscribe, all the cool stuff. Okay. And let's continue with this. The brand identity, recognizably is the goal of a strong brand identity. Just like a writer or an artist has a unique voice that is reflected in their artwork, a brand has a unique voice that is reflected in their brand identity. The core elements of brand identity are found in a style guide. The style guide is the brand Bible. Ooh, we got religious here. Determining all acceptable uses of the brand's color palette, primary colors combinations, secondary colors combinations, monochromatic use, typography, font, and formatting. Then we have design aesthetics, modern versus traditional, minimalist versus energetic. And just remember these ones. Copy style, the written tone of the brand, right? Which kind of goes also with font. So let's break them down into these elements, right? Like we're gonna start with the more than a color. Traits and associations may vary based on cultural and social context, as well as the time and your age as well. Maybe it will change. So let's give it a couple of reviews on different colors. We got color tones, range green, blue, purple, purple, magenta, and so on, right? With the tones, right? Then we have psychological, emotional impact. So, for example, green can give you the sense of nature, natural relaxation, calmness. I will say also freshness, right? We have blues, formal, professional, masculine. Again, also blue will be also a little fresh. I think blue or cold will get you that feeling. Then we have purples, regal, sultry, and mysterious. Then we have warm tones, range yellow, green, yellow, orange, red. Again, those are the tones. It could be cold tones, warm tones, right? So that you can see in the right, we have the warm tones, and the left, we have the cool tones, right? And then we have psychological emotional impact, because we have yellows, which is can be vibrant, happy, sunny. In the case of food, it's supposed to make you hungry. That's why we have the McDonald's yellow, the Burger King yellow, el pollo loco, maybe, I don't know.
Pollo loco.
Then we have oranges, which is summer, creativity, earthy. I don't know, earthy feel has to be a little more brown for me, but definitely summer, creativity, and also a lot of sense of ripeness. I think orange gave me a sense of ripeness somehow.
Well,
Reds, um,
another thing too to kind of think about is
mhm,
that these are the primary colors, right? And then there's
mhm,
also the secondary colors
mhm,
within this color wheel. But even within that, you could still do shades and hues or tints.
mhm,
So if you
definitely.
do a color tint, it's a brighter version of these primary colors. If you do a shade of these colors, it would be a slightly darker version. So you can change the mood of like an orange if you're doing a shade of orange, which is a darker version of orange. That's where you then get into more of an earthy, kind of like fall, winter sort of vibe. Same with blue. If you do a lighter version of blue, a tint of blue, then you start getting into like a pastel color, which is more maybe associated with children, the color of the sky. So, there's ranges even within these colors here.
Mhm. That's a ton of colors that you can play with.
Mhm.
Again, this is kind of a smaller version of the spectrum of colors. Then we have red, which is definitely passion, right? Romance, anger, seduction. Wow, somebody's getting too hot here.
Cálmate, Abraham, cálmate.
Okay, okay, okay. Don't get me angry. Don't get me red. Right? And so again, thinking of colors, it's really interesting, especially when you're designing your logo or your website or your book. Remember that. And
Exactly.
let's, for somebody who was asking, here we go. Let's start with these letters and U. Fonts are expressive. What these say to you? We have four different fonts here. One is Adele, the other one's Hovel, the other one's Courier, and the other one's Palatino. So first, I'm gonna ask each of you, what do you think? And again, you can try to read it, but this is generated basically to in order for it to say nothing. It's just so you can look at it and don't think too much what it says, but feel what it says, right? And so well, Jamie, what do you think about Adele? What makes you feel? What do you think about these fonts? Let's talk about fonts.
It feels kind of fancy for
Manuscript. I felt kind of fancy.
academia.
Academia. There you go. Definitely. And I'm gonna say you are right in a certain way because it's really legible. You can read it easily, and it's a little bit straightforward, right? Everything has a straightness to it. I
Mhm.
don't know about like how fancy will look, but definitely it looks like academic, right?
Mhm.
And then let's move on to roots. Roots, what do we think about Hovel? What do you think about this font? Let's talk about fonts. Is roots here? Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah, I'm here. I think it looks, I don't know, maybe fun.
Fun. There you go.
Mm, yeah, that's what I would say.
Definitely has that kind of bubbleness to it, a playfulness to it.
Yeah, Mojde added
Mhm.
that she thinks it looks friendly.
Friendly. I like that one as well. Definitely. And would you say it's as legible as Adele?
No, it's definitely not as legible.
Okay. Okay,
Yeah.
good thing you guys are looking into those details. That's perfect. That's what we're talking about fonts. Fonts are sexy and sometimes playful, sometimes crazy, sometimes really regal. Then we have career. What do we think about career? Much there. Much there. Are you here with us? Okay, I think she got kidnapped. Ooh, I don't know. Okay, let's
No,
move on to
she put in the
Avon.
chat work.
Okay, work.
Yeah, so it reminds her of work.
Of work. Interesting. Maybe because he has also that kind of feeling, almost typewriterish, like
Mhm.
that. And also to me, has that kind of manuscript for sure. Okay, there you go. Also, for me, I think this one has more space. If you think about it, has more space than the other fonts that we just look at,
Mhm.
right? And I don't want to say too much, but let's look at this sexy font. Palatino, come on. So what do we think about Palatino, Avon?
It's professional.
That's professional. Interesting.
Ooh, Mojde wrote clean and concise.
Concise. There you go.
Serious also. according
Serious
to Gene.
also. Interesting. Okay. I'm gonna say I agree with you guys. Luis, what do you think of Palatino? I think you have strong opinions on this one.
I do. It's actually one of my favorite fonts.
There
Um,
you go.
it's a very versatile font, I have to say. It looks really nice. It has a good sort of seriousness to it. It happens to be the font that I used for my last book. Um,
Oh.
you know, and also I think it goes really well. If you were to think of all of these, if you were to match them with colors, to me, Palatino would work really well with either a purple or a red tone. Um, because it has kind of like this weightiness to it. Whereas if you were to go with like hobo and maybe like a green or even an orange color,
Mhm.
it could probably work with those kinds of colors. Um, and hobo also makes me think of Trader Joe's, which I really don't like Trader Joe's. So,
Oh, you just killed our sponsors, Luis. Why are you killing our sponsors?
because they, for whatever reason, think that it's necessary to have terrible parking.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, you had to
So,
create some sense of you had to fight for the products. You had to
true.
fight for them. It has to be special, right?
Yeah, I'm
See,
more of
you
a
have a
Sprouts shopper.
Dorothea.
I'm
See,
I'm I'm with Nikolai.
sponsors.
I'm with
I mean,
Nikolai.
sponsors. We also have people who loves you guys. Trader Joe's. You can still sponsor us. Our people love Trader Joe's.
Yeah, viva Sprouts.
Okay. So again, we all agree that Palatino is super sexy, but
Yeah.
let's continue. Let's continue. Oh, time for a quick history lesson. Let's stop sharing these and move on to the next part. Bum, 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 bum. There you go. Sharing the love. Here you go. Oh, okay. Everybody can see, right? So we're gonna start with more fonts. Comic Sans. And for here, I'm gonna ask who haven't I have made participate. Oh, Nikolai, I haven't heard from you. Nikolai, can you please read these bubbles for us?
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Hey, do you notice anything funny around here? Oh my God, everything's in Comic Sans. Ah, don't scream, you're making it larger.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. I love this little cartoon. Because again, let's move into what Comic Sans has to say, right? A real hated font. And yeah, we can count. I think Luis, he's still on the fighting about this one by many designers. So be careful when making the choice of using this font. Again, because this font was created to make basically comic something fun, right? But I think a certain way it kind of got overused and used in the wrong places, and many designers hated that. And I'm gonna say I like it because look at these companies how they used it, and it works. I like it. And before you join the team, ban Comic Sans, we want to pause to acknowledge an interesting fact. According to a piece in New York Magazine, Comic Sans has been found to help people living with dyslexia. 50% of all Americans, apparently, the regularity of the font and idiosyncrasy of the shapes and sizes of letters helps people with dyslexia differentiate and identify. Yeah. So again, I'm Comic Sans team. So it's a cool font, but again, be super careful with this one because a lot of people hate it. So really know that you're getting into troublesome waters for this one. And let's move on to Crimson Text. Look at that. Harvard Law School. Look at that. And again, all the information is written with that font. This font is more formal. And here is a review. Again, the review I changed a little bit. So italics. Again, it's again using fonts, right? I love Crimson Text too. I thought I finally found the perfect font for my print book, but when I formatted my latest one for KDP, which basically means Kindle Direct Publishing, it's an Amazon self-publishing platform. A month ago, I noticed during the proofing that some of the letters didn't show up, particularly in italics. Ooh. I tried it again with different book and got the same results. I don't know if this is the case with other POD places like publishing on demand, but for many key VP books, I had to go back to Palatino, which is fine. So again, Palatino saves the day. Sexy, sexy Palatino. There you go. There you go. Good job, Jamie. And so again, it's a cool font. I like it. It goes again, same thing. It's something formal and gives you that sense of importance to it. But again, you always have to check if the font is going to work in the context in which you're going to apply it. It's going to be in the computer. It's going to be printed. It's going to be in a huge, I don't know, hotel printed huge letters. You have to see if it's going to work, right? Then we have, oof, I know you guys were waiting for this one, right? Palatino. And again, it works made it here. And again, many fonts have different styles. There's sometimes they're chunkier, skinnier, and so on. But again, this Palatino was designed by German typeface designer Hermann Saft, who also created Optima. It was initially released in 1948 by Linotype Foundry Palatino. It's an easy-to-read and popular text typeface. Within the typeface family, a wide variety of weights and variations are available. Monotype created a Palatino lookalike, a copycat, right, called Book Antiqua. Microsoft includes this typeface in Windows and Microsoft Office. And there you go. And so you guys know a little more of the sexiest font alive. Okay, and here is the last font that I have for you guys. Helvetica. And again, here's an image of it.
Helvetica with a T.
What's happening?
Helvetica with a T.
Oh, Helvetica?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Little
No
typo.
wonder.
Sorry, guys.
Here we go. It's over here. You guys can see there. The first version of the typeface, which later became known as Helvetica, was created in 1957 by Swiss type designer Max Miederger. His goal is to design a new sans serif font that can compete in the Swiss market as a neutral font. Again, see this word? That should not be given any additional meaning. So it's neutral. Oh, interesting. Today, the Helvetica font is ubiquitous, used to spell out major brand identities like Nestle, Lufthansa, shop names, American Apparel, public public signage, the New York subway, like in the example here. System was early adopter. That was the first uses for it here. Tech companies like Microsoft, Intel, Apple, current iPhones use the fashionable skinny Helvetica era. Again, there's different styles of fonts, and here is one. And thank you guys for following me for this font adventure. Oh, yeah. Okay, let's go back. Oops. Bum, 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 bum. Okay, let's share this again. And let's go back to the class. Typography, more than a font. Again, typography refers to all aspects of presenting the reading word. Okay, prioritize readability and legibility. Readability tips. Fonts and font color must work against dark backgrounds and light backgrounds. Again, you want to test your fonts, especially if you're going to be using a font for, I don't know, many purposes. You want to see how it's going to behave in different places, especially in paper or color screens, right? Some fonts are different to read in uppercase or lowercase. Be aware of how they look in different situations. Again, you want to play with different ways of fonts, right? Capitals, lowercase, as well as numbers. If you don't know, that's a lot of fonts that don't really have numbers. Some of them are actually bad. So you might have a font for the actual text, like reading text, and then you will have probably another font that looks like the font you're using, but for the numbers. So have that in mind.
In addition to that, there are also fonts that don't support other languages outside of English. So there are fonts that don't have like the umlaut, which is the double U. I'm sorry, the little two dots over the U. There's some that don't have the diacritic, which is the accent mark over, different letters like E, A, I, O, and U. Ñ, those also sometimes don't exist in other ones. So, yeah. And
exactly.
Of course,
that's why, for example, let's say you want to print your book, you want to check everything and see if all the letters are going to be translatable to that specific font.
And
font size.
Just like Jamie pointed out too, there are non-Latin languages, non-Latin based writing forms such as Korean, Japanese, and a lot of other like Cyrillic languages that also don't have the same font available. So if you have those kinds of things within your brand identity or within your website, or, if you're using those kinds of letter forms, you need to be very, very aware of that. And that's where your style guide comes in. That's why we're talking about all of these different things, because your style guide is going to help not just you be consistent, but if in the future you decide to hire a graphic designer or you hire like an intern to help you do your, I don't know, website updating and also your social media, all of those tools that are found within a style guide are going to help them really stick to your brand. So that way it becomes recognizable over time.
And again, when you change to different countries, some companies hire people to specialize on translating as much as they can, right? Not everything can be translatable. Then we have font size alters the appearance of letter forms. This includes the distance between letters, which is kerning, again, how far apart letters are, and the distance between lines of text, leading, that's the name of it. And again, those ones, many programs will have that kind of way of being able to move it. But sometimes if you send it to print or some places, you might want to be able to see if they did the correct thing about it. I don't know. That's depending where you print it or where you're going to send this work. You have to have those specifications to tell them, okay, this is what I'm looking for, right? Then we have typeface, which is bold and or italics or regular, create a visual hierarchy when combined with large versus small fonts. Use these strategically. Again, go into like we have maybe a title, a subtitle, like here in the same page, we have these ones bigger, right? Typography more than fonts, right? And then we have the actual information with smaller, right? And sometimes might change also the type of font that we actually want for the text. Because again, the text we want, I mean, the most words that you're gonna use, you want them to be as much legible, right? Maybe the titles or the headers, you can be fancy about it because there's not a lot of things that the person's gonna read. But again, you're gonna play with those things. Then we have typography, more than a font again. Typography refers to all aspects of the reading word, which we already covered. But here we're going to talk about prioritize readability and legibility, and we're going to use legibility tips again a little more. It's kind of the same as different. But here we're going to talk about Romance series fonts, and you can see them here. This is the types, which is Time New Romance, like it's the most popular. That's pretty cool. We have all the Caslon, also versus like other fonts that you can use is Gothic fonts like Helvetica or Avenir, or sans serif fonts like Optima or Arial, which is pretty cool also. Then we have the Slav fonts like Rockwell or American Typewriter. Those are pretty cool as well. And as you can see, you can use them for different things depending on how they look or how they separate to each other, how legible they are. Ornamental fonts like Phosphate or Herculaneum versus script fonts like Papyrus of, I don't even can say font.
Zapfino.
Safino. There you go. That kind of looks like the sorrow, kind of. But again, those ones, you don't want to write the entire text with that because it's impossible. My eyes will bleed if I read everything on that, right? You want to use them maybe for a title of your book, or you want to create like a signature for your name or something like that. They have personality and appropriate use. Be aware of these when thinking of your brand's voice. Again, depends on what you want to use them for. Pair complementary fonts to create visual hierarchy and dynamic designs. Roman service fonts with Gothic fonts, Slav fonts with Gothic fonts. Again, what we're talking about, same thing with the numbers. Let's say you have the font, it doesn't have the numbers that look like it, or doesn't even have numbers. You may have to look for a font that goes with it, or a font that is going to complement, let's say, the header or the title with the rest of the text, right? You want to have that kind of knowledge of how you want it to appear. Like we said with the other, okay, this one looks playful. Okay, you want another playful one to follow that, right? Do not use ornamental fonts or script fonts for important or longer text elements that we just said. They are purely decorative. Yeah. So love those ones. I mean, again, I love them to death, but you cannot read an entire text with those ones.
And even something like Rockwell, which is a really nice font. I really like
but
that
still,
font. Yeah,
we'll
even
get
that
you.
one is hard to read when it's small and you're reading a lot of them.
Yeah. Same with American Typewriter. I think you can only do so much. Let's say you are changing the voice of one character here. Maybe that could work there, but not a lot. It will get you tired. I mean, always try different fonts and see, again, in different contexts. For a titles of you want to use it for a lot of writing, definitely try it for a lot. So you can read it and see if it works. And ask people, as again, you can always ask people. That's something that's really, really helpful. What do you think about this? And let them use it as a regular person will use and give you feedback, right? On visual appeal and designability, visual styles and aesthetic immediately reinforce brand personality through visual hierarchy, lead the movement of your audience eyes across design. Remember to focus on readability and legibility, which is what we kind of cover. Keep font selections simple and consistent. Consistency, again, header fonts are always header fonts body fonts are always body fonts. And again, we have a couple students who have approaches and say like, okay, I want like 7 different type of fonts in my book. That's going to be really hard. So be mindful that people want that kind of consistency. So always keep that in mind. Don't put too many fonts. Color palette, complementary colors combined are attractive, 2 to 3 colors at most. I mean, you can see DSTL Arts. We have those colors. Luis, what are the colors that we have? Since you are the creator of these colors.
Yeah, our color palettes for our primary logo is kind of like an aqua green and then a sort of light orange, which I'm sure all of you are very familiar with. And the reason
Yes.
for those 2 colors is they're obviously complementary to each other, but they also have a significant meaning. Light green tends to be more of a inviting color, like the aqua green tends to be more inviting, more of a calm sort of color, whereas the orange is considered in some cultures the color of creativity. So,
Oh.
the idea was that our color selection would reflect a sort of calmness and an invitational way of getting people to be creative and feel creative.
There you go, guys. So some things to consider. And we have also this really interesting, we haven't heard from these ones, but it's good to introduce you to these curvilinear elements versus rectilinear elements. Curves gives you that sense of softness, motion, calm, femininity. Again, this could be updated things. Straight lines and hard edges gives you sharpness, stability, action, masculinity. Sometimes whether things are too pointed also can be threatening, right? Like, or scary. So
Right.
those are things to also consider, right? Or sometimes they can also give you a sense of something like being structurally sound or mechanical if they're straight, right?
Mhm.
And let's move on with visualizing the brand. Again, here is the logo we're talking about. A good logo is simple, captures the attention of your audience, presents your personality, use simple color schemes and fonts to express that personality. Original, know the competition enough to know mimic them. So you don't want to copy other fonts. So again, these ones really well researched, especially on the field. You want to put your font out there and see what's there, and you don't want to copy something else or be too close to it because you don't want people to basically like confuse who is who, right? And then avoid also you can get sued, right?
Yes.
Avoid cliches by doing a web search of logos. Use this your part arts practice. I mean, go search. I'm gonna say go search as many as you can and see that you can come up with something original and that you cannot see somewhere else, right? Use that works best to reflect your unique approach. Again, it goes with you are not just creating something to be legible or something to be read. You want something to be memorable, right? You want something to be interesting. That's what we're talking about, especially with the quote that we introduced at the beginning. It's not just functional, but it has to be more than that. It has to have the X factor, right? And visualizing the brand, a good logo is timeless and versatile. Avoid passing design trends. Again, sometimes we see things a lot in they're kind of just I don't know what's a good trend right now, Luis.
Well, another way to think about this is how many of you remember the original Instagram logo?
Ooh,
If you remember, the
I'm not.
original Instagram logo was designed to look like an actual camera, kind of like this sort
Mm.
of cartoony, realistic Polaroid camera. Yeah, exactly, Jamie. And now when you look at it, the current.
Sorry, Luis, I think you got cut out. But again, yeah, it's just Luis just up dated himself. That's so old. Just kidding. But yeah, the science change, and I guess you don't want to also be like stuck into like what's popular at the time. you want to think about it as something that's going to last a long time and still be relevant, right? And then we have a word mark, symbol, or both. Word marks are good for distinctive names. So we have, for example, La Placita de la Cultura, Amazon, Los Angeles Public Library, and so on. Symbols can be emblems, badges, or simple illustrations. I was just talking to Luis about this. Like, for example, nowadays we can see like he's saying Instagram or Twitter, and these ones and still know what they are. But mainly at the beginning, you may want to have both. Have the symbol with the word marks. So in order for people to know what they're looking at sometimes, right? And Luis, you have a little story that happened on the book fairs. Are you still with us?
Yes. So yeah, I started Distill Arts a little bit over 10 years ago now, and when I first created our logo, I created it, exactly with the same colors and everything. There was one other version of it before the current version. This is actually the 2.0 version, but the 2.0 version has now been around for like 11 years, basically. The original logo didn't last more than 6 months, if I remember. And because it's been around now for so long, at the last LA Zine Fest, I was wearing our staff shirts, which, aren't specifically for staff, but I was wearing one of our t-shirts and it has the pencil and brush logo on it, right? The little badge, the green one.
Yeah.
I was walking down the street to go get something to eat at the store at the corner, and a person walking by recognized the logo and knew the name, actually pointed at me and said, "Hey, Distill Arts." And then I was like, "Yeah." And he just kept on walking, not realizing that I'm, the founder, executive director. But it was really cool to be walking down the street, not even know the person that pointed out the shirt and have them actually know our name. That was, I think, the moment that I realized that our logo has become really representative of who we are as an organization.
And again, sometimes it definitely goes with good design, right? And sometimes you also have to build a brand in order for people to understand what you're about and follow you through the time. And that way it will get stuck in their minds, like Coca-Cola, all these old brands that we have. It took a long time for people to recognize them as fast as the game we did, right? You didn't even need the whole logo of it. You just needed the colors, right? And you were able to catch them. That's how strong a good brand is. It's not just about the design, but also how you build it through the time, right?
Exactly.
And let's move on. Let me show you a project that I worked on. Hold on a second. Let me see if I have it out. There you go. Here it is. So for a while after the pandemic, I ended up looking again. What we talk about is like I look at people were needing a space and where people can, especially artists, can promote themselves and their art and meet other artists. And many places were being closed. So I decided to create this event in my backyard that I have just worked on. And I wanted to create a flyer for it. And using some of the techniques that we're talking about, I created first a small logo, which basically is the pen that you see here. And I'm gonna admit it, it goes with first thing you have to know that how much time and resources you can put into a project. So again, I wasn't as clean as possible, like you can see here. It's a little messy, but again, how much resources you have and time. And then I decided to put something that's playful but still legible, which is backyard poetry. That's the name of the event. And I wanted to be able to have this sense of openness. So that's why I have this thing on the background, right? That represents also a backyard, like a garden, and a sense of welcomeness to it, like there's some space behind that's welcoming. That's why you screens and all that stuff. And I use the fence to basically to give you the sense of this is a backyard, as well as a space in which I can write down the information I want people to get. Here we have my first feature artist for that event was Luis, and I put the day and all that. And as you can see, I try to continue with the same font, but the numbers, as you can see, do not go with the font because the font didn't have the numbers, right? Had these ugly numbers. So again, time, I decided, okay, as long as legible, I'm okay with it. But again, that's a little thing that to keep in mind, right? It would have been nice if I could have find a font that has those numbers, right? And then we're talking about flexibility, right? So I decided, and for special events, I'm gonna switch it up because again, you always want to be playing with your ideas, right? So I made this one for Halloween. So I made the fence all ugly and old and broken down, but the same shape, right? And also I added to the design this blood coming, right? Like the ink, and as well as part of the word has a little critter there, right? So those elements added up to like the season, right? As well as the background. I decided the other one was welcoming and a little fresh and openness. These ones feel cold and mysterious, right? So, and again, the glowing eyes, right? And again, I was playing with it. Same thing with we were talking for masks. I decided why not just again, it's when you're trying to come up with design, you just don't want to be straight from point A to point B. We're talking about cars, right? I was talking about masks. I said, like, let's put a fun mask because it's Halloween instead of just bring your mask, like a regular mask. That do you see the blue mask on the previous one? I said, let's play with that as well, right? See this mask? I said, no, let's find something that's playful, right? And I then move on to this one, which is again same thing. We have the same, but we modified it to make it more of a fall winter theme. Again, same thing. I still have some welcomeness in the back, but this time, again, cool thing is the snow was legible because I have all these colors in the back. Otherwise, you couldn't see the snow if it was just white fence, right? But I still wanted the white fence is because again, it looks clean. Usually holidays are to clean and happy, right? And again, this is the last one that I did for this one, backyard poetry, and I did the Day of the Dead special edition, I guess. And again, I went back to a little bit of color. This one was a little less darker than the other one, but still on the mysterious side of colors. And I added touches that will give you that sense of Day of the Dead, right? And again, this is a little project that I did, and I used some of the techniques and design ways that we just talked about, right? Again, just because I had a flyer doesn't mean I had to be stuck with it. You can play with it and make it more than just something to communicate information. You also want to be attractive, right? Be fun, right? And let's close this one. Yes, again, that's the thing that you want to consider. You want to sorry, I even said in the text in the chat, the design is memorable and consistent, but you're still able to customize it to each season team. So cool. Again, that's something also you want to be thinking ahead when you create either a project or a design. You want to be able to be flexible with it. So that's why I left some of the spaces and some of that extra room, right? That's the thing also, if it's too crowded, also can be hard to play with. But those are things that you want to consider. And let's go back to the last part of the class. Your favorite part of the class. This is what you came for. Homework. Yes, sir. We have homework. Using design thinking principles, explore either Adobe Express or Canva, all those Photoshop, or whatever you're comfortable with. Even you want to use pen and paper, or I don't know, whatever you have at home, and begin crafting your own logo, design, or watermark, like the name we were talking about. You can do that, or create a flyer, especially for those people who are gonna create their classes, gonna have their classes. You don't have to put all the information, but you can start playing like to create a flyer for an upcoming event, real or imaginary. I mean, you can create a flyer for Taylor Swift or whoever you want to create a flyer for, and play with it using the design thinking principles that we discussed today. Play with the font, play with the color, spacing, and also have fun with it. That's the important part, because that's the thing. You don't want something to say concert tomorrow, Friday, 5:30. No, you want like this awesome band, Flame, and all the stuff. Come check it out. And that's what you create. Something that's not just telling you information, but it's telling you information in a unique, important, cool way. And that's what you have to think when you're talking about design, right? Has to have the X factor. Okay.
Right.
And without further ado, we are DSTL Arts. Check us out, dstlarts.com. My name is Abraham Jaramillo, Luis Antonio Pichardo in the sound booth. Angelica Cartagena, it's somewhere else, but she's in spirit with us. Like the Jedi, I don't know.
The Jedi, yeah. Yeah, and
And
again, for those who are watching on the live stream, you're welcome to obviously like and subscribe, follow on our YouTube specifically, where we have all of the recordings go up for you to be able to rewatch them. If you have any questions there, you can always leave a comment and we'll get back to you through the comments. And I want to say also to everybody that joined in today on Zoom, I'm really happy to have you here. Happy New Year, of course. In order to give you a sense of, the way that either Canva or Adobe Express work, we did talk about them a little bit last month, but this is the Canva website. It is free to join. You have a free version and, of course, a, paid version. So don't feel like you have to use the paid version yet. You can start your free profile and all of that. But it does allow you to do a lot of different things. If you go up here, it gives you a good sense of all the different kinds of things that you are able to create, including logos. Now, if you're more design oriented and you feel like you want to really invest in something that is going to be more, I would say, in line with professional designers, Adobe Express also gives you the opportunity to do a free trial. And then if you actually pay for the monthly subscription, you get access not only to this, but also AI generated things. So you can use AI to actually help you in creating your designs. And also this one does offer video. So you can actually also create little video snippets for things like Instagram and TikTok. So this is in my opinion, a slightly better option than Canva.
didn't we have a certain code to get a discount,
Yeah.
Luis?
Yes. So for those that are maybe more inclined to go with the Adobe software subscription, if you go to our website, distillarts.org, go here to where it says donate and support. When you click on that, it takes you not only to the donation page, but it also takes you to this. Subscribe to Adobe Creative Cloud, and it gives you a few different options that are discounted. So you can get either 20% off on the all apps version. You can also do just a Photoshop only version of the subscription, and you can also do the Adobe Express only version of this. The nice thing about Adobe Express, if you get the subscription for Adobe Express, it also gives you a simplified version of Photoshop too. So you actually get two apps for the price of one. Whereas, the other ones you're paying a little bit more, but you're also getting obviously more tools at your disposal. So those are definitely worth it, and use our website to actually activate your subscription if you choose to do the Adobe software. You get, like I said, that little bit of a discount, but also it supports DSTL Arts, and we actually get a little kickback from the affiliate link. So we appreciate that always.
And yes, we
And
get a money back with a sign. That's what we get.
yeah,
I like that.
to give you an idea too of the capabilities that you get when you use paid versions of this, um, you actually have like this section here in Adobe Express specifically, where you can upload things like your branding. If you create a logo, you can then assign it as a branded logo, or like a branded profile, a theme. So this has all of the different logos that belong to DSTL Arts, and here it gives you a preview of how things can be legible against different colors. Um, Plus, you have access to fonts and other graphics that you can upload that are more like permanent graphics, permanent templates. So this is a way in which we can quickly create our own, what's it called? Our own flyers and social media graphics and that kind of thing. If you look at like the Pizza y Poesía one, this is a template that I created a while back. And this is something that we can just simply, click and update the dates, and that's basically it. You duplicate it, and this is now, the version that you see on a Facebook event page. And then this is the Instagram post. And then this is actually the TikTok video. And you can even add music. I don't know if you can hear the music, but little animations and things like that. You have that ability using this type of app, and it's only $10 a month. So I definitely think it's worth it if you're interested in using something like that. Um, so, explore those, and again, start working on your own logos and or flyers that you might want to use in the future. Uh, So yeah, and if you have any questions or anything related to what we spoke about this evening, we're obviously available to help with all of that. And for those of you in the Poet Artist Development Program, we would like to actually coordinate with you a day for us to actually get together and talk about what we covered, and you can bring your designs to get input from either me, probably me. If Abraham can't make it, I don't believe Angie will be able to make it. But this would be done on a day outside of our Wednesday sessions. So
Yeah, utilize the time, especially Luis is gonna be there. Make it worth it. I mean, before I forget anything, I want to ask this question of all of you, especially just to make sure you guys hear me. Which one is the sexiest font of them all? People, please answer this one. You guys know? Come on, people, you know. There you go. Jamie, you came up with the knowledge. There you go. Palatino is the sexiest of them all.
Evan wrote Comic Sans.
No, it's cool, but it's not.
Actually, the one that I really, really think people should avoid is Papyrus. It's nice and all,
I
but
agree.
it is way overused.
That one I agree 100%. It's cool, but it's super hard to use in the real context. It was made to make it look old, but people use it for a restaurant or a sticks like that. Again,
You're gonna do everything in Papyrus. It's all
hey,
right, Jamie.
I'm not gonna stop
We'll save
you,
you.
but I'm gonna be making fun of you the whole process. Just kidding.
Yeah, so thank you everybody for joining in. Again, tonight's session was recorded. It will be edited and uploaded to our YouTube channel. For those of you in the program, you'll have access to it as well through Google Classroom, along with the handout from tonight. And with that, I think we'll say goodnight to everyone on the live stream. So thank you again for joining us. It was a pleasure, and we'll catch you on the next one.